Here we are, part 2, moon through the signs. That always sounds so interesting. I'm going to back up maybe one sign just to get into it, but this is just, I think it's really cool to look at astrology through that lens. You know, we're going through looking at some different lenses. So we're going to have the moon lens, which is the emotion. So we're going to put the emotional lens on and then experience what that sign is. And let me just go ahead and share the screen. Share. All right, and I'm going to do it like this just for a moment. I might go full screen in a minute, but I want to just get to the end here and show you, get that cheat sheet. We'll zoom in a second. All right, we'll go with this one first. Guess if anybody can't see or hear anything, just somebody unmute at any time and say, hey, lay at my attention. Okay, so just to recap, I'm going to go through this to bring us back into this. You know, it's always funny when you're doing a video, it's like you get, as a presenter, you're doing it live, you know, for the now, but then more people are going to probably see it later. So you have to kind of take that in mind. And it's funny, you know, I think we all watch a lot of videos and, you know, there's ones that are definitely the now and it's all the emphasis is that, but then, you know, you think, gosh, when was that recorded? You know, so anyway, just kind of funny. So moon in Aries, emotionally aggressive. Okay. Moon in Taurus, emotionally stable. Moon in Gemini, emotionally versatile. Moon in Cancer, emotionally tenacious. This one kind of threw me a little bit. I wasn't thinking that was one of the best words, but I got it from Marion March and Joan McEvers. Those are one of my favorite ladies. They have the whole series of those. There's The Only Way to Learn Astrologies, volume 1 through, well, whatever. But they had that word. So this is like, yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But you think, you know, the crab and then how they just like to cling on to stuff. It's, you know, it's emotionally, but you don't think that's not that emotional kind of stuff. It's tenacious. It's manipulative. It's controlling. You know, it's vulnerable. So it has to do that. Moon in Leo, emotionally dramatic. You can just tell those. I mean, those are those people that are just, it's like crazy. I can't believe she said that, you know. Oh, just really felt it. Moon in Libra, emotionally refined. And look how it's like just opposite, you know, from dramatic to just proper, you know, it's this way. It's, you know, it's crass. I would never do that. And they're probably quieter as well, speaking, make people listen, you know. Moon in Virgo, emotionally discriminating. It's interesting. It's like contrary to the emotions. Let me see over here. I think I see. Bear with me one second. Okay, I think I'm good there. Okay, just making sure to admit somebody. Sorry. All right. So yeah, discriminating, you know, on an emotional level. So it feels kind of cool, kind of cold, you know. So like if your kid grown up mom like that, it's kind of not a mom sort of feeling, but interesting, calculating kind of too. All right, moon in Libra. We said it was emotionally refined. Moon in Scorpio, emotionally possessive. Wow. I think I went out of order there for a second. I was just thinking about something. So possessive emotionally. So that's the one that's going to get jealous. It's like the kid that has the crush and just is like, oh, I could never get over it. Yeah. Emotionally possessive. Has only one best friend, no other friends. Sagittarius, emotionally idealistic. That's that hypothetical emotional state. You know, it's like, oh, well. And some people are like, no, it could never be. Well, maybe. Capricorn, emotionally reserved. This is the one that's just, that waits, that's, you know, takes care of you, you know, shows you they love you by, you know, baking, you know, making soup for you, a big pot of stew or something. That's You know, it's not the voluptuous wanton, you know, seductive. It's not that, you know, which is more like the Scorpio. Sagittarius, being one of the opposites of that, you know, the idealistic, and then the emotionally reserved. It kind of goes from being pie in the sky, then that, you know, next one, no, focused on this. So I want you to see these little lumps from how it's so different from the one next to it, but in a different way is the one that on the other side. You know, you've got the one in the middle is different here, but then it's opposite almost on this way too. Hope you understand what I'm trying to say on that. So I'm trying to teeter-totter them a little bit. Okay, so then Aquarius, okay, so then it goes again from being conservative, Capricorn, or reserved, it goes back outward to, you know, Aquarius, emotionally detached. Oh, no, I can't be bothered. You know, I can't hold on to that. It's like, you know, it's more back in the head, kind of like the Virgo one. It's like a different, you know, even it's different sign, it's earth, you know, and this is air. It's that reserved feel of the moon. It's a cool moon. It's not a real warm moon, you know, like Taurus or like Cancer. You know, Gemini also versatile. It's kind of in that head sort of thing, but it doesn't always have to be the airhead. The airhead. Anyway, you know what I mean. And then the last one, moon in Pisces, emotionally instinctive. So instinctive. You know, we're not saying intuitive, we're not saying wishy-washy there, it's instinctive. It's like it gets that feeling before anything even happens. So quite opposite back, you know, to the other side. Instinctive is like having to be receptive, totally opposite of emotionally aggressive. Emotionally aggressive is, you know, I want my way, you got to feel this way, or this is how I feel. And which then is, you know, goes back to that next one of, you know, being out there to then stable, back reserved again. So they just as push pull. All right, and then the last one is the take on that same flavor but go through the houses. So moon in the first house, it's more of an environmental, because that's, you know, where you are acting out in the world. The second house is what you acquire, you know, you're acquisitive. The third one is how you express. The fourth house is your home loving qualities. The fifth one is the theatrical moon. The sixth one is the adaptable, you know, because it's so busy, all those things in Virgo. It's got health, it's got employees, it's got work and service, it's got to adapt to all that. The moon in the seventh is popular. It's that Libra, it's that, you know, that out there, it's the first one above the horizon now. The moon in the eighth is intuitive. And that's interesting because it's the Scorpio. You know, you would think that might be Pisces, but the Scorpio intuitive, because it's still a water sign, it's reflective and it's deep. So it being deep, it can get that isolatedness to be able to then open up those antennas. You know, you can't do it with all kinds of noise and everything because it's a psychic antenna. Moon in the ninth, that Sagittarian, that philosophical, you know, well, that back to that, like the last one was idealistic, you know, and this is philosophical. Well, it could always, you know, it's like, no, it can't, you know. So your Capricorn, the next one, no, it can't. And it's social because that is the, you know, the 10th house is the house of out in the world. It's the public, it's above the horizon. It's your occupation, where the 6th house is kind of like your job, two different things. And then the moon in the 11th is that Aquarian house, and it's friendly because it's so out there. It's so Aquarian, it's so humanitarian, it's so everybody, but in a detached way. If you're taking care of everybody, you can't get personal with it. So it's got to be detached. You know, if you have lots of, you know, kids and people, you know, like your kindergarten class, a lot of them to watch, you got, you know, you're going to just kind of, you don't get too personal because you got to watch them all. Whereas if you have a smaller class, you zero in, you get more personal. And moon in the 12th house, insular, being in Pisces, insular, you know, it's takes stuff in. It's so empathic. Okay, so just those flavors. I just wanted you to kind of wrap your mind back about that before we finish the second half of this. So let's just recap at moon in Scorpio, pick it up from there. So the moon in Scorpio or in the 8th house, you got to blend this. And I'm really hoping that you making these simple and just putting these on there. So I'm giving you these things that are like absolutes for now, but then later you can fuzz them out, which we have to do with things because it's not just like this, but I got to give you some key things to have some stuff in your head. You got to know that this is red, not blue, or green or white or something, right? Okay, needs privacy intensely. They're soul bonding, strong sexual chemistry, or to feel like part of a power duo. You know, let me, okay. Has a hard time trusting and opening up. The person who wins a Scorpio's moon confidence will be rewarded with eternal loyalty. They're mysterious, intense, and trustworthy, and your emotions are complex and mysterious. The moon is in its fall in this sign, and we'll talk about all those another time, but just put that in the back of your head. Which is said to be one of the most challenging placements in the zodiac. It's true that your feelings come with a strong current, one that has been known to pull you into an obsessive undertow. But thanks to this deep diving lunar placement, you don't mind going way down there. Anything too surface or light or superficial just won't hold your interest. Scorpio and the 8th house are associated with transformation, like the phoenix rising from the ashes. You must touch the fire of destruction before you can elevate to the illuminated heights of awareness. You know, this is interesting. This, anybody that has 8th house things or transit going through the 8th house or something progressing into the 8th house is going to feel this. This is not just natal, but I'm talking about the moons with this, but take, but just take this, that this is not just the natal, this is how this works. So anything 8th house or Scorpio has to be transformed, and you have to touch it. It's got to be just right there. And you know what? I want to get this larger here for you. Will that do that for me? There we go. There we go. Okay, so tough emotional lessons, you'll weather plenty of them in this lifetime. It's part of your process and how you develop your superpowers as an empath, mystic, counselor, or guide. Because of this, you exude a trustworthiness that draws people into your confidence. Friends and even strangers are quick to share intimate personal details they've never told anyone else they'll say, I've never told anyone this. So somebody has that moon in Scorpio, or an 8th house moon, people instinctively want to tell them secrets. They probably just put out that vibe that they understand the sanctity of a secret. And Lord knows you have plenty of your own tucked away, but sharing your own deep, dark feelings is another story altogether. Few people can make you feel safe enough to reveal your emotions. Betrayals are hard to forgive. If you sense that you'll be judged in any way, the vault remains locked. Beyond learning your trust, a confidant must be intelligent enough to help you parse through your layered, multi-dimensional experience. You'd rather keep your feelings bottled up than to confess them, only to look up to a shocked or confused expression on the listener's face. Strong sexual chemistry is important to feeling loved for a Scorpio 8th house moon sign. You need to know that you're attractive and feel quite strongly about the intensity with what you're attracted to, of what you're attracted to others, or even repulsed for that matter. When it comes to desire, you're hot or you're not. So this is like hot or cold, off or on. You may go long periods of time without feeling drawn to intimacy, but when it's on, it's on. It's on. With your rich inner life, you can also go for long periods of time being solitary and then suddenly end up in a soul-stirring partnership that lasts a lifetime. I thought that slide on everyone, the sexual chemistry, was actually funny. I hope everybody else does. All right, Sagittarius moon, or moon in the 9th house. All right, so this moon is definitely opposite. It's where again that Scorpio is in the depths and depthy. The Sagittarius is out there and it's happy and it's laughing and it's idealistic. So this one needs adventure, conquest, wisdom, variety. Attracted to worldly and open-minded people. Loves to travel and have new experiences. Life should feel like a constant carnival and celebration. And they get bored easily, of course. It can be hyper-stimulated here. Adrenaline junkies could fall into this. More than anything, lunar Sagittarians have a need for personal freedom and space. They are extraordinarily happy and easygoing folk, as long as they don't feel caged in or cooped up. So there's a bit of a teacher in the moon in Sagittarius, definitely a helpful spirit. They easily forget appointments and the like, and some are even considered irresponsible. However, it's hard to stay angry at a lunar Sagittarian. They are extraordinarily cheerful and upbeat in their optimistic creativity. And their optimism is also very catchy. Before you've had a chance to self-edit, you've already blurted out a borderline TMI confession, but hey, somebody had to break the ice. That's a job that you'll happily take on since you love nothing more than a rousing round of real talk. So that being that they like philosophical things, they would say something like, well, you know, really bluntly honest. This is even in all the signs. So emotionally honest, you know, you would think emotionally frank. I'm not going to emulate that, but you can kind of imagine where things like that would go. You're also a sucker for deep philosophical conversation. No topic is too broad or vast for you to explore. So that emotional side just likes to then have that talk. Interesting. You probably have strong opinions about them, a lot of them. Most people can't match your range. With this truth-seeking moon, you intuitively sense when something feels right or wrong, at least by your ethical standards. Your temper can flare up quickly, especially if people are being provincial and narrow-minded. There's one thing you have is zero tolerance for. You have a sharp BS detector. For the most part, no one's pulling the wool over your eyes. That said, you can be swayed by flattery or take a few detours following a charismatic guru. When the going gets tough, these people run away. They don't like to be caught up in routine for too long. They simply need to escape. They'll be back when they feel refreshed and their spirits are renewed. There's a blind faith in lunar Sagittarians that is admirable. They simply believe that everything will just work out. Not much for making detailed plans. People with moon and Sag prefer to wing it, or in the 9th house. They're really good at making things up. They can create a recipe just from remembering, or they'll pour the exact amount because they can feel that. It's an interesting measurement. So they have that blind faith feel kind of thing. This can be at times, it can be disconcerting to those who are not as free-spirited and who prefer a bit of a heads up. Sagittarian people are very adaptable and generally on the go. They're also hungry for knowledge, new experiences, and mind-expanding ideas. They're great lovers of the truth, and they make wonderful, inspiring teachers. Adventurous and expansive. You have a never-ending yearning for freedom. Security comes from knowing you can move about at will without having to answer to anyone else's demands. Because of this, it can be tricky to pin you down into a commitment. A deep part of you is afraid to get fenced in or feels claustrophobic. However, if you sense that a relationship, romantic or otherwise, if you sense that a relationship, either whatever type that you feel, can help you grow in a positive way, you're more likely to stick around for the long haul. No matter how brief or extended your connections last, this fiery moon sign makes you a passionate soul. No, your wild spirit will never be fully tamed, but you also bring a sense of hilarity and infinite possibility to the party, which is why people love having you around. Moon in Capricorn, or the 10th house. Emotionally serious. Let's get down to business, shall we? Moon in Capricorn, or 10th house, takes emotions seriously. You don't get involved with people unless you sense there's a promising future. Even then, you'll run them through an extensive checklist of requirements. Financial stability, integrity, family values. This moon sign is focused on long-term success. You love setting goals in any partnership, whether romantic, business, or other type of collaboration. I mean, it's one way, it's like, okay, can do this. I'll see if we do this goal, then this will happen. Very pragmatic. Emotionally reserved. You're hesitant to let it all hang out. The moon is in its detriment in Capricorn, which is the opposite of its home sign of Cancer on the zodiac wheel. So you should put a little mental note there. Home and detriment are opposite. So if something is at home, the opposite, of course, will be the detriment. So moon's at home in Cancer, it feels totally comfortable. That's where it's born. It's like, oh yeah, it's so comforting and intuitively mellow and calm and soothing and comforting, and then it's like, then it's got to go into reserved Capricorn, where it's now got to have a checklist, you know, like, this is how I love you, or so that's why it's at a detriment. But then there's the two other placements too, which are the square of that. Okay, but more on that later. So because of this challenge placement, you don't fully trust your own intuitive GPS system, your own internal guidance. While you're composed on the surface, you may secretly need a lot of reassurance before you can relax and open up. Yep. It's funny, you know, you look on the outside, it's like, oh, they look fine. It's like the inside, they need, oh, I need somebody to validate me. There's a tendency to be too rational in the matters of the heart. People might even judge you as icy or unfeeling when you're in a self-protective state. Going cold is itself is a defense mechanism. A helpful tactic: learn to name and claim your feelings instead of detaching when things get intense. Because you like to appear in control, you hate the idea of losing your cool in a reactive moment. See, but that's what makes you vulnerable and lovable. Alas, suppressing your feelings can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't find a healthy outlet for emoting, they'll erupt like a volcano, or in some cases manifest as anxiety or depression. You know, it depends on other things that keep you from releasing that. If it makes you go internally, then, you know, you're going to manifest this way, internally, with depression instead of outwardly. Okay, loyal and dutiful. You're the rock for friends and family. You'll pull extra shifts to provide for your people or sacrifice sleep to emotionally support a loved one in crisis. But sometimes you forget to tend to your own emotional needs. Don't ignore them. You'll just wind up resentful, angry, or frustrated from putting obligatory duties before your heart's desire. So perfection can be an Achilles heel, making it hard for you to enjoy the fruits of your labors. Like a good home, your projects may never really be done. Celebrate the milestones instead of waiting until you get to the finish line to raise a toast. Being useful and productive are basic needs for lunar Capricorns because they generally keep their emotions under check. Moon in Capricorn, or in 10th house, people come across as competent. However, turbulent their emotions may be under the surface, lunar Capricorns keep cool-headed and they come across as steady and reliable people. This position for the moon suggests desire for clear boundaries and realistic goals. Not much for taking risks in life, not like the Sagittarian right before it. Lunar Capricorns look for safety and security in most everything they do. Most of them respect authority and tradition, and many are planning well ahead of the rest of us. Okay, so if they respect authority and tradition, then you can expect the next sign, the Aquarius, to not. Keep that in mind. Capricorn is a sign of organization and efficient management. So when the moon is found in the sign, the world of emotions are well managed and handled in an efficient and practical manner. At the heart of lunar Capricorns is a powerful need to feel worthwhile in the real world. There's a basic need for respectability and a big attachment to the world of the senses. Lunar Capricorns put a lot of value in all things tangible and real. And perhaps more than anything, they need to be respected by others in order to feel secure. Okay, Aquarius moon, or moon in the 11th house. I thought these pictures kind of summed it up here. Moon in Aquarius people are extremely observant. They are lifetime students of human nature, loving to analyze why people do what they do. This often stems from a detached, even shy personality, especially in youth. Whether due to character or conditioning, Moon in Aquarius people often grow up feeling different. Although rather sociable, they are often loners at heart. Many have strong egos, or at least powerful defense mechanisms, and most lunar Aquarians will do their best to be the most unique and unusual person they can be. What are these weird things called? Feelings? Hosting the Moon in Aquarius, early 11th house, can be a funny thing. This zodiac placement is far more cerebral than emotional. See, and this is what we're seeing with some of these signs, some of these essence of the symbol of the planet in the sign or in the house. You know, it's like this, you know, some of you should be thinking, wow, this doesn't quite mix, does it? You know, we have the emotions, which should be dealing with feelings. And then we have something like Aquarius is going like, feelings? Ah. So you don't just see why people have to lose their kaputzes. Okay, it's not that you're not sensitive. You just don't see why people have to lose their blah blah to prove that they're passionate or to get their point across. While you can be cool as a cucumber, you care deeply for humanity. There's a very idealistic and progressive streak in lunar Aquarians that is admirable indeed. However, when Moon is in Aquarius, natives will often deny the more irrational qualities of emotions such as jealousy, possessiveness, and fear in an effort to be above what they consider pettiness. When this goes too far, lunar Aquarians can be emotionally blocked, distant, or detached. Lunar Aquarians can be very willful, especially in childhood. With age, these natives generally learn to handle their strong needs. Their desire for independence is powerful indeed, no matter what their age, and often growing up feeling that messy emotions are unappealing. They pride themselves on being cool-headed, detached, and above what they consider the baser emotions. I like that top one, that's pretty funny. In the process, they can end up alienating others. Although lunar Aquarians can be especially adept at understanding others' behavior and motivation, they can lose touch with their own simply because they have identified too strongly with what they aspire to be. And these aspirations are often superhuman. Your ability to detach and be the voice of reason is this moon sign's superpower. But you may get stuck rationalizing your emotions by saying how you think instead of how you feel. Learn to tune into your heart instead of going right to your intellect. Will expand your empathic range. You'll seek out edgy, daring new experiences, even making yourself a bit uncomfortable in the process. But sometimes you can push boundaries a little too far and offend others in the process. Even if you are a one-on-one person, you won't take kindly to a partner who restricts your personal freedom or tries to control you. In close personal relationships, however, lunar Aquarians generally give others a lot of personal freedom, and they will tolerate and enjoy all kinds of idiosyncrasies in people around them. Moon and Aquarius people are rarely flighty people, but they can be unreliable when it comes to the little things in life. Often this is simply an assertion of their independence. As in the long haul, however, they are rather constant because it's a fixed sign, right? As long as they have their own space and the freedom to be themselves. However kooky that may be, they are trustworthy and loyal. And the last one we have is our Pisces moon, or moon in the 10th house. Lunar Pisceans are known to be dreamy. I'm sorry, I don't mean 10th house, I meant 12th house. That is a typo. I'm sorry. Lunar Pisceans are known to be dreamy and not always in touch with reality. However, though, these people may not always show real-world savvy in day-to-day practical affairs. They make up for this with remarkable intuition. They can put themselves in anybody's shoes with extreme ease. On the plus side, this endows them with remarkable compassion and love. The downside with this apparent ability to break down boundaries is that these people can easily lose themselves in the suffering of others. Their sense of humor is delightfully silly, which is a bit odd. These are perceptive souls who seem to be in touch with all the nuances and subtleties of human nature. Often this comes through in a strong sense of humor that is more of a receptive kind than the type of sense of humor that would make people the life of the party. It's generally pretty easy to get them to giggle. And this is really interesting, because we're talking about emotions, and we haven't really gotten into this like with Pisces, but this is a cool little nuance. So Moon and Pisces people may get tagged as spaced out, but there's a lot more to them that meets the eye. They feel things out and they rely on their intuition. It just doesn't feel right for them to do otherwise. Their dreaminess can mean plenty of moments of absent-mindedness. These times of oblivion can land them in all sorts of predicaments with others who can too easily misunderstand these complex souls. Give them room to be alone with themselves, and they're generally able to take on the world, even if their style, when they do so, is not always conventional or understandable. Generally considered a soft-hearted and sweet, Lunar Pisceans care about others and are easily touched by human suffering. This tendency gains them reputation as suckers for sob stories. Without plenty of space and time to daydream, Piscean moons get easily overloaded with life. I thought this was a really cool picture. It kind of represents that, the Buddha hands, and it's just awesome. Those trees on there, kind of real solitude. Pisces could probably go there easily in their minds. There's a delightful accepting side to the moon in Pisces that sometimes is mistaken for weakness, or in 12th house. So Pisces in the 12th and the last sign of the zodiac, and thus carries with it a little of each sign, previous sign of the zodiac. So as a result, they see themselves reflected in the behavior of others, giving them seemingly boundless compassion. Since the moon represents our instinctive nature, Moon in Pisces seems to know how things feel without actual experience. For example, they may have never had sex, but seem to know all about it, or especially the subtleties of it. People born with this lunar placement must also be mindful of what you're taking in, like other people's stormy moods, negative vibes, or unspoken judgments. Sometimes even they're sensitive to the person who made their food. I mean, that's pretty powerful, that intent of that person, that cook, or the people who prepared it, is putting that energy into the food, and that can definitely affect somebody, a lot of people, but definitely people that have moons in these more water places and houses can be affected that way, and they don't know why. It's not just indigestion, it was that energy dealing with it. Anyway, you may need to swim away regularly when your circuits get overloaded. A serene hideaway is a must for this moon sign. There may be certain people who cannot allow, that you can't allow in your life, especially when they pull you into a codependent vortex with their self-destructive addictions or pity. Oh, poor me. More than most, especially like if it's a parent, or this type of relationship. So more than most, you need to shield your field. Setting healthy boundaries is essential to your sanity. And yes, wearing certain crystals or protective talismans can help. Clearing rituals, burning sage, meditating, putting that positive mindset, taking like Epsom salt baths. Definitely, it's got the good amount of magnesium in there to relax you. And you got the water, and the sulfur in it helps your liver detox, so that gets away a lot of the stuff. So it's, it's more than esoteric. It's definitely physical to that, and then quartz crystals have a piezoelectric quality. If you squeeze them, they have an energy, because it's, these were piezoelectric. They were first made crystal radios to help the movement of the, to make you able to hear the radio. Okay, so all these things help you to keep emotional balance. Make it your mission to find a home with a dreamy tub. This is the person definitely needs a good bathtub or a hot tub. Most Pisces moon people instinctively know that when they're due for a much needed recharge. It's at these times when they retreat from their world and its harsh realities, if only to gather strength to face everything and everyone again. Solitude is important to them, but they also need people, so their retreats will usually be short-lived. All right, and I want to go over this again now that we've gone through this. I'll put this up here. So let's just talk about this again, and I really want to layer this. And so when you're going through this, you're getting this. I'm really hoping that it simplifies it, but it puts it in a couple of layers. So if you can understand, Aries is like the first house, and we're putting that lens on. Okay, we're going to put on Aries lens and first house lens, and then we're going to go look at the moon that way. We've looked at Venus that way. We've looked at Mars that way. And I just want to kind of draw that. I want to draw that together on a horizontal level, and then we're going to go vertical with each one. I hope that makes sense. So just to recap, because I'm just going to do one all the way across. Just an Aries rising person, that would be that Aries mask to the world. So people would see that Aries rising as a pioneer woman or a warrior man, that they are, that's the mask that they're portraying to the world, whether they're that way or not. They may be Pisces underneath that. And they're putting that exterior shell of this pioneer warrior. Okay, that's how other people are viewing them. And remember, that may not be what's inside. That's all that is. Sometimes it jives with what's inside, and sometimes it isn't. That's when we look at some of these aspects. Is it square? Is it trine? Does it support it? Or does it kind of check it, do the opposite? Okay, so then that was one. Okay, so then let's do Aries sun. So then the Aries sun, that person's inner core is all about pioneering something new, shining the light on something new, adventure. They are doing it. It's their first house. It's the initiation. It's the spark of doing something new, something initiating. That's, that excitement, that initial burst. That is, that excitement, that pioneering. That's who they are. If they have Aries in Venus, their emotional side, not their emotional side, kind of not the moon emotional, but the other type of what they like, their likes, their femaleness, their the way they make money, how they manifest what they want, their possessions, is all going to be an Aries type of quality of just go get it. I want that. Boom, I get it. They're going to be aggressively toward that. They're going to want adventure. That side is that female side is going to be enlivened. They're going to be daring. They're going to be daring in how they want in life. If there's Aries in Mars, if the Mars is in Aries, that person is going to be very aggressive in their drive. They're going to be driven, because they're first. It's in its home sign. It's very aggressive. It's very frank. It's very on the ball. Let's get going. Don't think about it. You waste too much time thinking, let's go. It's drive and energy. So you could have like a Pisces sun, but then you've got an Aries Mars. So that's going to really kind of liven up that Pisces. It's going to get this like, yes, I want to be a psychoanalyst for the world. I want to do it now. And then the moon there, did I get that? Yeah, and then we're back to the moon. So then the moon is there in Aries. It's going to be emotionally aggressive, emotionally hot. The temper you know, also with Mars there, the temper could be kind of hot. But then with the moon, with the emotions, I mean, the emotions could just get you just boiling, and then you're just, boom, with the emotions, like, oh, you know, they're the type A drivers. Oh, get out of my way. Can't believe he cut me off. You know, shit. Do you really believe he spoke to me like that? So that's the real, it's like the emotions just come up, boop, and then they're done. Boop, then it's done, up, boom. So that's that all the way through. And I'm hoping that you can start to understand how this is all the way through, you know, as you reflect on some of this. So that would be the next kind of, you know, homework, is to then just look at them all the way through, you know, not only looking at your own, where that's all at, but then kind of seeing it from those little lenses, just kind of look broad, sideways. And as you do that, each one, you're going to then go deep, because then you're going to get each one all the way across. But it's kind of the same thing, you know, so it's just putting that lens on. So I hope this gives you like a little bit of a shortcut on that. But let me just go run through these here. So Moon in Aries, emotionally aggressive. And then again, keep thinking the opposite, like now, and that once I go through these. Moon in Taurus, emotionally stable. Wants to be stable at home and comfy. Moon in Gemini, emotionally versatile. Moon in Cancer, emotionally tenacious. It's the crab part. It wants it. You know, I want you. I want this. Is mine. I'm going to manipulate. I get this. Is mine. Sticky, tenacious. Moon in Leo, emotionally dramatic. Little different than Aries. Aries is aggressive. You know, Aries moon gets across how they feel, kind of like, this is how I want you to feel. This is what I want. I got to do this. Blah, blah. Where maybe Moon in Leo is more of that, drama. Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Or this, oh, yeah. So it's going to demonstrate more. Moon in Virgo, emotionally discriminating. So that takes on that airy kind of emotionally distancing. Moon in Libra, emotionally refined. Moon in Scorpio, emotionally possessive. Moon in Sag, emotionally idealistic. Moon in Capricorn, emotionally reserved. Moon in Aquarius, emotionally detached. And Moon in Pisces, emotionally instinctive. And then we'll go through the houses. Moon in the first house is to do with the environmental. It's more of an environmental thing, because it's you know, all about you and your environment. You're interacting with the environment. Actually, let me see if I got that. Let's see. Moon in the second is acquisitive. You know, it's want to acquire things. You know, it feels comfortable when it acquires things. Moon in the third house, it feels comfortable when it's expressing, talking, communicating, having siblings over, and, you know, talking to them on the phone or dealing with them. Moon in the fourth is home loving. It's all about home, you know, home. Not so much family, could be family, but it's a secondary to just all about like home loving. Moon in fifth, very theatrical. Moon in sixth, adaptable, because the sixth house has got all those Virgo things, you know, work, employees, small animals, health. Moon in seventh, popular, because it's got to be the other person, you know, the other side. And plus it's the first one above the horizon. Moon in the eighth, intuitive. So that Scorpio is that depth, pulls up the intuitive card here. Moon in the ninth, philosophical. Of course, that Sagittarian, philosophical, idealistic. See, it's not so much frank on this or honest in that. It's a different side of the Sagittarian, you know, side. But this is that pie in the sky kind of philosophical. Moon in the 10th, social, because it's the outer world. It's what you do in the world. It's like who you are rather than what you do. The sixth house is more what you do. It's the menial or work stuff, where the 10th house is your, you know, what you do, your occupation. You do stuff or not. Some people don't. So maybe nothing there, or is it just a sign there? So it just depends, of course. And the 11th house, friendly, because it has to do with everybody, you know, and it's friendly. It's not it's not one-on-one or anything at that point. It's friendly to all because it's got to look at the whole thing, the humanitarian side. And in the 12th insular, you know, that's the empathic. It's got to insulate to be able to feel and feel others and feel what they're feeling. Okay, so that is that is through the houses and through the signs, and hopefully that makes a lot more sense going through them. So we've gone around with those different planets. Now the outer planets are again more generational, so we'll look at some of those in a few other ways just to get the essence of that. But also what I'm probably going to do next is to now start looking at some of the angles and the patterns that some of these things make. It's like, do we have a bunch of trines? Do we have any squares? Do we have sextiles? Do we have conjunctions? Do we have inconjunctions? This is all good to know, you know, because we need to know how we, you know, where's the soft parts of our chart? Where do we get lazy, or where do we just have good luck? You know, sometimes when, you know, you got to fall back on some of those skills. And where do we need to be challenged? If you don't have anything, then you're bored. You're not maybe putting yourself to your highest potential. How does that work? And then there's two folds. We're looking at this through the eyes of your natal chart. This is what you're born into, but this applies all the way across all of astrology, everything, these same things, but I'm kind of giving you the context of the natal chart. But there's also something called your progressed chart. That's where you are moving into, because you know that you're not the same as you were when you were young. You know, that wherever, when you were in your 20s or when you were in your teens or your 30s, I don't know, different people, different ages watching this, but you'll see that you've been traveling through, or you watch other people and you see, gosh, you know, remember my mom, she used to be this way, and then now she's not like that at all. She's just totally into this, doesn't like to do that, and what, you know, so we move through different areas. So the progressed chart, and when you, I like for people to look at where they're moving into, you know, where they're away from what you're born with and where you're moving into. And I'll give you a couple of examples how that works. There's a method called the day for a year, where you progress the rising sign and the sun, they move together a day per year. So if you were born, let me just give you an example, best way to do it. Let's just say Aries. If you were born at 0 degrees Aries, let's say your rising sign was 0 degrees Aries when you were born. 0 degrees Aries, 2 minutes or something like that, you know, just right into it. By the time you're 30, you are going to progress into the next sign. You're going to be 0 degrees Taurus. So you do, you know, each year of life, you go through a degree, you're moving, moving, moving. So that person that was born, maybe the first 30 years of their life, they're very Aryan. You know, they're a view to their how they project to the world. They're very warrior. And then as they get beyond 30, for the next 30 years, when they get, you know, 30 to 60, then they're going to be more Taurian. They're going to be more stable and more secure. They're not going to be the pioneer. They may not be going up and down mountains anymore. They're going to be maybe having the land and back to the land at home or something like that. They progress into the next sign. Same with the sun. Maybe you have a Pisces sun at 0 degrees. So the first 30 years of your life, you're going to be very sensitive and Piscean. And then as maybe you get beyond 30, you're going to progress into Aries, and then you'd be more outward and Aryan. So wherever it is in your birth chart to start with is where you are. If you were born at 15 degrees Capricorn, from there to the 15 degrees Aquarius, you know, that 30 years will be, you're going to finish one sign and then you'll start another. Yeah, both sun and rising work that way. So that's really cool. And then maybe throw the other planets because they move slower, and we'll do a whole thing on progress chart, how that works. But that's really cool to see where you're progressing. So I just want to give you another layer, but it's the same thing. You know, we look at the same things, but you're going to just see how you're moving forward in life and how things change. But then those angles, you know, certain angles change too. But we're going to look at those angles, you know, probably in the next few weeks. So we start understanding some of these patterns you're born with, and then they change through life. As planets move, they have different orbits. For instance, let me just give you one more little heads up on that. Say you were born and Mercury was retrograde. Let's say it started the retrograde. The day you're born, it just went retrograde. So for the first, you know, it's retrograde for 3 weeks. So for the first 21 days or 21 years of your life, you're going to be in the influence of a retrograde Mercury. And then as you progress beyond that, it will then move forward, but it's going to go over those same degrees that it was. So it might not be until you're 42 years old before Mercury goes into a new area of life. Yeah, that's cool. So let's just say Mercury was in Capricorn when you were born. Maybe, you know, just, and it went retrograde in it. So maybe it went way back in Capricorn. Let's just say the whole, you know, 21 degrees back into it. And then you get 21, and then it goes forward, has to go all the way back through there. So it's in Capricorn again. So the whole, like, say 42 years of your life, first is like, you've got this Mercury Capricorn kind of energy. And then it moves on, and then it goes into Aquarius, you know, so the mental part. So this is this really, really cool stuff about using astrology in the now, once you understand it, and having it be okay that who you are. But sometimes we don't understand that. We go, I'm changing or I'm different, but that, you know, let that be okay. But where we can use astrology to understand this and then see where you're moving into and let that be okay. It's like, gosh, I never thought I'd be a homebody. You know, it's like I was Aries all my life. Now I want to be at home cooking and learning how to bake bread. And I love Martha Stewart magazine, watching cooking shows and growing a garden, you know, where, you know, that wasn't at all the Aries part of your life. And again, one thing to the next. So just look at that with your life. Look forward to that. We're going to start looking at how that all works and look at the other parts of all that. So I hope that was interesting, and thank you for watching. I'm always available for doing those charts. I can run those charts and I can explain them to you. So 2 parts of that, you can just contact me and be happy to do that. All right. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.